Over the last year, INEOS have made a lot of changes at Manchester United that the fans have not necessarily agreed on. These changes have left fans with more questions than answers. INEOS have made 250 employees at the club redundant. They were basically deemed a surplus to requirements and were fired. On top of that, Christmas bonuses of remaining staff members at the club were cancelled. I understand why fans are beginning to turn on INEOS, but I think the pressure being put on INEOS is unjustified, especially considering that they've had to deal with decades worth of mistakes at the club and that they've only been at the club for over a year. In this video, we're gonna go into the different problems and situations that INEOS have had to deal with and just how difficult of a job they have on their hands. I'm sure the one question on your mind is, why are INEOS making all these changes? And it's quite simple. Over the last decade, United have been mismanaged as a result of poor decision making, and over the last couple of years, they've been made to pay for their mistakes. The club in this current moment in time are drowning in debt. And if you want me to get into the statistics, they're about $750 million in debt, and INEOS are the ones left to clean up the mess. The debt at the club is so bad that INEOS are considering selling academy graduates Kobe Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho for the club to register new signings and keep up with financial fair play. These rumors have left United fans divided on whether INEOS are the right owners moving forward. Now, there are two solutions INEOS have to consider to deal with the current financial crisis at the club. The first is to move players on big contracts and big wages, and I'm going to go into reasons on why there's a problem with that. The second solution I'll talk later in the video. See, the problem with getting rid of players on big contracts is that almost zero clubs would be willing to pay for their high wages. The players at United understand that the club will struggle to move them on because they were bought in for millions. So INEOS are put in a situation where players will eventually run down their contracts and the club has no say on what these players do, because at the end of the day, the previous management were the ones who gave those players the contract. United at this moment are trying to move on Marcus Rashford, and they have to find a club willing to pay £300,000 of his wages every week. Now, we all know that not many clubs would be willing to pay that much for Marcus Rashford, so the club either have to buy out his contract or he has to go out on loan. Both options which are not financially viable for the club, maybe apart from the loan, but again, who in the world is willing to pay £300,000 for Rashford every week? The second solution INEOS have to consider is to continue making these micro changes and to try and make profits as efficiently as possible. My only criticism with the second solution is that realistically, how much of a difference will sacking 250 employees make compared to getting rid of a player earning €8 million a year at the club, who doesn't even contribute towards the team winning in any way? They are good people who have worked at Manchester United for years, who recently lost their jobs as a result of all the changes that INEOS had to make. I'm not trying to be unempathetic towards the people who've lost their jobs, but INEOS aren't necessarily left with many options to help the club generate funds. There's a dilemma at United where there are two different owners and neither one wants to invest in the football club because INEOS own 28% of the club and the Glazers own the other 72%. From an INEOS perspective, why would you overcommit to a football club that you don't even completely own? After all, their main responsibility is managing the footballing side of things at the club. I think United fans need to give more time to INEOS. After all, INEOS have done incredible business signing the likes of Lenny Euro, Matthijs de Ligt and Manuel Ugarte in their first ever transfer window. All signings that have done relatively well in the circumstances United find themselves in. INEOS have shown their commitment to the club by making an additional €300 million investment in the club. The reality for United fans is that INEOS and the Glazers are here to stay. So, for the sake of the club, let's hope they bring back the glory days to Manchester United. If you like football videos like the one you just watched, check out this video where I discuss what really happens at Tottenham. If you liked the video, click subscribe. See you in the next one.